is on the very thing I've been talking about, which is East Westie. And I let people know, listen, a lot of times you're not going to see East Westie until the pup is 4.5 months to 6 months. That's usually when it really comes out and presents itself. This is one reason why it's so important never to buy from a breeder that's trying to force you to pick a puppy at 6 weeks. See, the reason that breeder is forcing you to pick a puppy at 6 weeks and trying to send it your way is because he or she knows that what they're producing are flaws that are so egregious that by the time the pup is 8 to 10 weeks old, pretty much you're going to be seeing these flaws. So instead, they'll sell you the pup at 6 weeks so that once the flaw pops up, it's all on you. It's not on them, right? So that's one of the main reasons why you want to deal with an ethical breeder and you want to pick puppies at 10 weeks. I'm not saying you're going to see everything at 10 weeks, but there are a few things that will pop up with a puppy at 10 weeks old. Mike, you're good, man?
Yeah, I had to sneeze, man. I muted it, but I couldn't get your attention. I had to.
Oh, you're good, man. You're good. I saw you. Yeah, I saw the secret sign, but I didn't pick up on it, man. My bad.
I went down. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, man, a lot of breeders do that to sidestep you not seeing, for example, stiff stifles. That's another one. On a puppy that's 6 weeks old, you may see that something's going on in the rear, but you're not going to necessarily see the full spectrum of it until that puppy starts to grow and those bones start to lengthen. And the more they lengthen, the more you start seeing the flaw in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So let me jump in here to let me jump in here to East Westie, right? And East Westie, right, comes in stages pretty much. It comes in stages. So the first stage or the first sign that you have a puppy that's going to be East West, it's going to be normally between 8 to 10 weeks. You're going to see a little hair, a little something. No matter how much you try to fix the puppy's feet to take the picture, that one little paw just continues to do a slight little twerk. Well, I'm letting you know right now that slight little twerk with time is going to twerk a little bit more, right? But there are certain factors that are at play. Is it genetic? You don't know. Unless you've seen the parents and they have angular limb deformity, then why are you buying the pup to begin with, right? And then secondly, is it dietary? One of the things that may allow you to know or kind of give you a clue that it's dietary is if the parents are clear up front and the breeder is free feeding puppies kibble, right? Because I have spoken at length that high protein content will weaken the soft tissue. So that puppy, because it's got weak wrist or weak pasterns, if you will, is going to redistribute the weight by opening up and being able to stabilize and redistribute the weight that way. So if you're seeing a fat puppy in front of you that can eat whenever he or she wants and they're way overweight, but the parents are clean, then more likely than not, you're not dealing with a genetic issue. You're probably dealing with a dietary issue. And, you know, one of the things I always recommend is New Vet, New Joint DS for a simple reason, guys. The amount of calcium, phosphorus, the amount of all the minerals that are in there, there's not...
Chondroitin's a big one for me.
Chondroitin, yeah, there's not too much of anything to make that bone grow too fast, and it gives the soft tissue the support it needs, especially when the puppy's younger, right? What may end up happening is if you're feeding a particular kibble that say has a high content of calcium for that pup, what happens is that puppy's going to be eating it that's going to be sending signals to his DNA and to his body to make bone bigger and faster because we have an abundance of this mineral coming in. And you may end up destroying your pup, at least structurally, without even knowing, just based on what it is that you're feeding, right?
You know, that's a big deal. What you're talking about right now, and I hope everybody that's got any dog, but especially our breed, I hope they realize how much it affects the puppy. Environmental stuff, it really does play a difference. You might have potentially the best dog there is and ruin it, squander it, not taking care of certain elements and not taking care of certain things to do with the dog's, direct environment and routine and diet and nutrition and things like that. It's really, really a big deal. And to piggyback off what you said about the new vet, one of my favorite things about new vet is, we prefer raw over kibble. But when we're feeding kibble, I feel like it's the reinforcement that we need. I feel like it's giving the spectrum of nutrition that when you're feeding kibble you don't have. And need even more with just a.
It's a crapshoot with kibble, man. Did they overcook it? Did they leave it in too long? Did they acquire good bioavailable minerals and vitamins from East Asia somewhere, to not say China? Or did they, there's just so many ifs and buts that a lot of times that's why when you see people going on new vet, all of a sudden there's a shift. There's an immediate shift and an immediate correction. Now, I can tell you, we've been talking about East-Westy, but something that's a little bit more common than that, we're going to talk about hip dysplasia. Okay. There is a genetic predisposition. However, the veterinary community is split. It's not 50-50 because you guys already know, okay, big pharma, right? Big pharmaceutical plays a lot of influence or has a lot of influence over a veterinary student. I had this conversation with a vet this past weekend, and he or she did not realize they had been indoctrinated. And I spoke it over with this person several times, and I didn't change their mind, but they went from absolutely not to there is a possibility. So I felt I made a lot of headway, and I'll explain to you guys real quick what I mean. What happens is, I was
laughing at Adam's comment.
What happens is big pharma will go ahead and donate to a veterinary university that has a veterinary department. There's not many in the country, guys. You would think for as large as the country we had, there would be maybe more than 20, 25. There really isn't. And what ends up happening is big pharma will donate, say, a library or fund some sort of research that's convenient for them, whatever the case may be. My whole point is there's money involved and there's interest involved. What ends up happening is they'll say, well, I want you to use these particular books in the curriculum. And that book may be saying things like, we don't want you to feed raw. We want you to feed kibble because kibble is the next best thing to earth in feeding your dog. Guess who's behind that? Who's behind the book? Big Kibble, right? Kibble companies. They're going to influence whoever wrote the book to say that this is the best thing. And then they're going to have a study, which it's going to be funded by Kibble, right? To have Kibble scientists say, yep, no, absolutely. Hill Science diet is better than raw any day of the week, right? We all know for that to not be true, but this is how things work, man. And you got to kind of have that understanding to be able to comprehend, right, that, you possibly can be causing these orthopedic issues to your dog if you're listening to these quacks. Yeah. Right. Because they're just there to take your money, man. They're not there for anything else.
That's what this platform's all about. I mean, at the end of the day, putting in the work to educate people so that they don't just get blindsided because everybody's trying to get their money, from people trying to sell them dogs
Yes.
to the vets
Yes.
to the Tractor Supply and Petco and any other place that sells products. I mean, it's like good marketing will get them every time if they just don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah. Frida Strevia, for example, look, she says, now that you mentioned that, Kyle, I have had the same encounter of being a real bond and separation anxiety when I got the puppy at early age. Get bonding and take separation anxiety, I guess. Yeah. Here's the other reason why you don't want to get a puppy at an early age. Here's the reason. So between the weeks 4 all the way to week 9, they go through rapid stages, bite inhibition being probably one of the most important of them.
I agree.
And that's when the puppy bites his little brother or sister's tail, and she turns around and bites him square in the snout. And that happens several times. And then he starts learning dog education, like just basic dog education. They start respecting each other's spaces and know that if they go after each other's little bone, if one is chewing a bone and one decides to go after it, he or she needs to comprehend by that time that it's about to go down, right?
So they learn behavioral manners.
Yes, manners
between dogs, and they also learn that their mouth is capable of inflicting pain, but it doesn't have to if they'll control their bite, be gentle with their bite. Teaches them to be gentle and not bite so hard when they're not trying to hurt somebody.
Right. So if you have kids in the home and you're bringing in a puppy that's 6 weeks old, get ready for your baby to get nipped left and right. And there's nothing wrong with the pup. That puppy just hasn't gone to school to learn what's right and wrong and how far to take things.
So
right.
True.
Also, why would you want to bring a 6-week-old puppy to your home where you have a child? You don't know if this puppy has any type of, temperament issues or anything like that. Yeah. In fact, you might end up causing it. If you have a child, if you bring in a 6-week-old puppy to the home, he or she hasn't gone through the bite inhibition stage or any of the other stages, doesn't know how to bond, doesn't know how to cope, bites at everything, right? And your child decides they're going to poke him in the eye, bruh, you're going to have yourself a problem in your hands. You're going to have a serious problem in your hands, and that dog is probably going to end up in the shelter. And
here's the thing too, Raul.
It's no fault of its own. Huh?
Explain to me, I mean, there is no explanation. What people have got to learn is, and this is not a shot at anybody that's sold puppies at 8 weeks. What this is like I said before, an educational platform to teach from our journey. And what I've learned, and I learned it right here, is that it's better for the breeder, it's better for the buyer, it's better for the puppy, it's better for the mama if you'll wait 10 weeks. It gives the breeder time to watch the puppy develop, to make more accurate picks as to which one he's keeping and what's up for his program. It gives the buyer more time to be able to know what it is they're buying and what things are developing and stuff, depending on what they're looking for. If they're trying to buy a show quality dog, or what it is that they're chasing down. If they want a female that has a certain attribute or whatever that they're hoping that this breeding took to this chest or this, this top line or whatever the case may be. And then it teaches the puppy to work with the other dogs and to get that etiquette. And it gives the mom time to transition away from her puppies a little more too and teach them.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mike. The problem we have in this community and any breeding community, it seems like the majority of the breeders are backyard breeders, right? And when they're trying to push a pup on you, make a pick at 2 weeks, and I'm sending you the puppy at 6, you really need to question. I mean, that's a backyard breeder. You want to know what a backyard breeder is? That's a backyard breeder. Hold on. Kyle's is waving me down. What you got, Kyle?
I was gonna say I notice a lot of those that sell them too early and stuff. They're just in it for the money. It's a puppy
Yeah,
mill. They're just
they don't
pushing
care. They
pups
don't even
out so
care
they
about
get
their own
money.
pick. Yeah, they don't
I
even
was
care
just
about their own
telling
pick.
I was telling Insaratha and them about my first bully that I got. You remember I'd gotten her. That's actually when I first met you and started talking to you. The problems I had because I got her too early, but she was in a bad situation.
Right.
Sky,
Like
is that her name?
within
Sky?
Yeah.
Sky, yeah. But she developed such a very close bond with us because we got her super early. But at the same time, that first week she got coccidia from where she was staying at. I had to bring her to the vet. She almost died. I had to hand feed her for like 2 weeks. I mean, it was horrible, man. She looked horrible. But we nursed her back to health, and now she's still like she's almost like a human, but she's very separation anxiety. There's nothing I can do to break it. She's skittish about a lot of things, and that's no fault of
Hey,
us. It has
some
nothing to do with us.
some dogs will be able to adapt, while others will maladapt. You don't know which way it's going to go, man, because you don't
She
know what
did.
triggers they have.
She's the best pet quality puppy you could ever meet in your life, but at the same time, she has a lot of stuff. There's no way I could bring her anywhere because she
Right.
has a lot of those like skittish, she wouldn't bite anybody. She's just real scared and skittish on everything. And that's just from her being too young when we got her. Way too
That,
young.
that's it's it. And a lot of times, the dog ends up in the shelter through no fault of its own. The
Yeah.
breeder got
Exactly.
paid. The breeder
Yeah.
got paid, and the owner just made a dumb
You
decision.
really you really gotta if you ever get in a situation, you really gotta know what you're doing. And you gotta put a lot of time and a lot of training and every day hours on in. Because if
It's
you
just a
don't know
lot
what
of
you're doing and you
unnecessary
just put her
work.
in a cage, I know it is. It's a lot of unnecessary work. So especially people that work every day got to leave the dog at home. That'll never work if you pick them up before 6, 8 weeks. Never.
They'll
You'll
destroy
never
your
get
house.
that dog where you want them. Oh
They'll
yeah, man.
destroy your home.
And
Let me
and probably be aggressive or whatever in the long run because you didn't do what you're supposed to.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much it. John Doe says, I find it odd when a breeder says, look at that structure, and the puppy can't even stand. John Doe, honestly, like, how many times do we not flip through social media and there's a 5 minute old puppy and somebody showing it at you, telling you how great this puppy is? Seriously? Like, seriously. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you got the best dog in this world. There's no way in hell you're going to know the minute you're grabbing that puppy and showing it to the world whether it's going to be great or not, right? If anything, it kind of reveals to me what that breeder's intention is, right? These are things you got to keep an eye on because that's usually a red flag.
How much?
A
What do you
breeder
think the
that's
ratio
out
is
here,
between? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, a breeder that's out here doing their thing, they're going to take a picture of the litter, show you all the puppies in the litter. This way you can see the smaller ones versus the bigger ones, right?
Yeah.
But a breeder that's only showing you that one puppy he wants you to see, and they're not showing you anything else. I mean, a lot of times I hate to say it, man, because I've been wagging my finger at this community forever and a day. But a lot of times we're ignorant and we walk right into it. We make impulsive decisions, and then we got to scratch our head and try and figure out what the hell happened. And what happened is you got a backyard breeder just scaffold you. That's what they do. They show you only that pup, or they bring this dog out. This is the puppy's dad. The dog is a freaking train wreck, but dude grabs his wife to put a G string on so she can show her booty next to the dog. And hey, that's a good looking dog there, Mike. What do you think? Right? And it's almost like, dude, if you really need to go that route and you're capable of showing your wife off just to sell a pup, like, it just speaks volumes, man. And I only wish the community would take a little bit of heave to that.
I was gonna say in between there. Sorry, I interrupted you, but I think it is mostly backyard breeders, like you said. But I think there is. I don't know why it's on my mind tonight. Is there's a chunk of the community that's just uneducated. you know, they get into breeding dogs and they don't know unless they learned it here.
Yeah.
Because you don't hear it anywhere else that you should keep a dog to 10 weeks. You just don't hear it. I mean, if somebody's getting into breeding and they have a litter of puppies at home and they're like, all right, well, if they ask anybody, how old does the puppy need to be before we start letting people pick and then get rid of them? Oh, people, I would pick a 6-week puppy and get rid of them at 8. And that's just the consensus because people are uneducated. And I
well,
I don't know that it's people even trying to skim by as much as it is like, you know, just misinformation. You know, like,
well, I've had people reach out to me, already paid a deposit, and the breeder's telling them to pick at 2 weeks. There's no way that's a general. Yeah, pick at 2 weeks, and I'm going to ship it to you.
Pick what at 2 weeks?
Yeah,
colors.
Oh, we're going to pick colors. You know, I'm telling you, bro. Things get creative. Alberto Ayala saying his 15-week-old puppy broke his canine. It bled some. He's not hurting and is eating kibble. 15 weeks, so he's under 4 months. So my question to you, Alberto, was that canine from his first initial set of teeth, or was it from the second set of teeth that came in? If it's the second set of teeth, you need to go to the vet. All right. If it's the first set of teeth, don't even worry about it. You're going to be just fine. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
So let me know so I can answer that.
Yeah, depending on how it splits upward, or if it's just broke off. If it's if it's the adult tooth, it could be a real issue, or it might be all right. It just depends.
Yep. I agree with you. Let me get into hip dysplasia here, guys, real quick. Again, on the hip dysplasia, let me break it down simple, right? I'm going to try to simplify it. So first of all, hip dysplasia, it is thought to be there's a genetic predisposition, right? However, another reason is that there's rapid growth in large dogs. Another reason is obesity, poor nutrition, right? Overexertion. I'm going to give you 2 reasons that I didn't see that popped up on Google. And that is, first reason is lack of grip when they're puppies. There's one reason why you don't want to buy a puppy and bring him to some sort of flooring where it's slippery. Okay, this is going to cause hip dysplasia, possibly elbow dysplasias and whatnot, because the puppy's trying to recompensate and he's hurting himself. Large breed dogs, including German Shepherds, Rottweilers, American Bullies, you name it, they have a tendency to grow faster. The bones grow faster than the soft tissue is able to withstand. So if on top of that, you're putting them on slippery surfaces, you're really, really asking for trouble, right? The other thing about hip dysplasia, and I'm gonna really, really simplify it for you. Hip dysplasia is nothing more than the ball and socket, right? So the hip is all a ball going into a socket, okay? And the more there's space in there, the worse off you are. There could be moderate hip dysplasia, and you might be able to get away with it for a long period of time. Or there may be severe hip dysplasia. You have severe hip dysplasia, I'm going to give you some signs that you'll be able to pick up. And it's unfortunate. The veterinary community, like I said, is split about 30-70. 30% think that it's environmental. 70% think it's genetic, right? They always want to pin everything on breeders. But the truth of the matter is, whether it's genetic or not, you grab a puppy and you put them on a slippery surface while they're learning how to walk, you're gonna be in a world of hurt. You're gonna cause an entire litter to have hip dysplasia, even if they weren't born with it. And one of the signs you could see in a puppy is, say the puppy's about 5 or 6 weeks old, and out of nowhere, he or she will start limping. And they'll limp for a good 5 days, and then out of nowhere, the limp goes away. And you're thinking, oh, great. Yeah, I'm going to be able to sell them no issues. Yeah, that pup's gonna have hip dysplasia, man, more likely than not. Okay. And it was probably caused because, like I said, lack of grip. And Saralta says that grip is why I started using vet fleece. It has a deep pile and is supposed to help pups' joints. Well, I use where I want my pups is a kiddie pool, but make no mistake about it, we're putting a little rubber mat in there that I know mama can't eat or anything, and especially when they're starting to walk around, and even before then. Okay, at minimum, I'm putting a towel underneath mom so when the puppies are suckling, when they're pushing with their back feet, they're pushing on something that grips, because that's going to help those muscles in the rear, right? It's going to help them develop. So by the time they start walking, they don't have any compensatory issues. You have a puppy that has issues standing up and moving and whatnot because the muscles didn't develop because it didn't have right footing. You're setting him up. You're setting the puppy up for issues. So
I think it's like you said. Can it be genetic? I think maybe you could have bad hips in a dog. There could be genetic hip issues, but everything that I've researched has led me to it's not really just outright conclusive, but I'd say almost all environmental. If they could have, like you said, a little bit of a predisposition that it wouldn't take much to kind of trigger.
yeah,
But you could take puppies with perfectly good hips, no dysplasia, nothing, and ruin the
and
whole
ruin them.
litter pretty young. And what's crazy is it happens in the first couple of weeks of life.
Yes.
A lot of times it's everything I've found said that they think it happens real early on. Them puppies don't have any strength yet, and they're just fighting to scoot around and not gaining any and then they first try to stand up and do the splits with all fours like this.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
bad news after that.
I'm gonna give you another little insight. If your puppy was a swimmer at some point, stay away. Stay away. Trust me on this. Stay away. A puppy being a swimmer is usually due to breeder incompetence, breeder irresponsibility. You
Right.
should know as a breeder, if you're having a small litter, that they're probably going to want to eat more than they usually can, okay, or should, better yet. What ends up happening is they eat more and they pile up more weight than their body or joints can actually support. And this is what makes them a swimmer. Can you fix a swimmer? Sure. You can make them walk if that's what you mean fix. But how are you going to fix the position of the hips when you're teaching that puppy how to walk again? Because now you got to either put bands on either the front legs and back legs, or you got to put two pieces of wood together for the puppy to walk through the middle. How do you guarantee that those muscles, accessory muscles that needed to be there, for the puppy to be able to stand and that weren't there, this is why they're swimming, all of a sudden are going to be there when you teach them how to walk.
Tell people
That's
what
the reality.
swimmers are that don't know.
Yeah, this swimmer syndrome. Let me bring up a picture so I can show you guys. Puppy swimmer syndrome.
It's basically when they scoot around with their legs out to the side, basically, right?
Yeah, basically they don't walk. So I'm gonna bring it up for you guys to see. I got quite a few pictures. Hopefully I could pick one out here. Here you go. So what normally happens is the entire litter is walking. However, you'll have a puppy doing this right here, all over the place. He wants to play, he wants to eat, he wants to do everything, but he's not standing. And then one of the ways you fix it, which is I had a swimmer once. This is why I know. Okay, one of the ways to fix it is you got to either tape the front and back legs together, right, until they build enough muscle to start walking again, or you could build like a little. I'm trying to see if I can see it here, like a little hallway with two wooden, not beams, but just two wooden pieces that are long enough for the puppy to be able to walk, and therefore, but look at the positioning of this puppy's back legs. That's what the positioning of swimmers' back legs usually are. How are you going to guarantee me, even if you get this dog to walk, that this being in this position for a long period of time is not going to cause hip dysplasia?
Yeah.
That's the part.
So
You
how
see,
effective was it in your experience? You said you worked with fixing the dog. Were you able actually to get it to?
she didn't have hip dysplasia. She had elbow dysplasia. You go and get it either in the front or the back. In her case, she was compensating in the front for the back.
Yeah.
She didn't have hip dysplasia, but she had elbow dysplasia. For those of you that don't know what elbow dysplasia is, and I was speaking earlier how easty westy can cause elbow dysplasia. Let me show you what I mean. Right? So, hope the picture's up. Yeah, it is. Right. So, I want you to take a look at this Rottweiler over here, right? I want you to take a good look at him, because down here, he has got easty westy, right? But I want you to take a look at the elbow, how it's sticking out. Okay, and that's because the paws came out, and so it kind of twerks or twists the bones all the way up to the elbow, and it's causing the elbow to compensate by coming out.
Right.
Okay, I had a really hard time finding a picture that can show this, because breeders are really good at hiding elbow dysplasia, because all you got to do is take a side shot, and it's going to be really hard for you to be able to see elbow dysplasia. But when you get a front shot like that, what's going on, NWA? When you get a front shot like that, then you can see everything that's going on. And in that particular picture, right, that east westy, let me get in there so y'all can see my mouse. Can you see my pointer?
No.
Okay. So what's going to happen to this dog if he doesn't have the right supplementation long term? Down here, he's going to end up having something called angular limb deformity. And that usually leads to arthritis pain, and the dog is probably not going to want to be doing activities, because obviously he or she's going to be in pain. But the problem you have here is not just angular limb deformity. You also possibly can run into elbow arthritis. Elbow dysplasia usually causes arthritis in the elbow. So, and I don't mean when the dog is 8 or 9 years old. By then, you should expect the dog to have some sort of arthritis. Not that you want to, but if they told you your 9-year-old dog has elbow arthritis, like, it's not the end of the world at that point. I'm talking about by the time this dog, let's say this dog right here was 1 or 2 years old. It's not out of the question that by the time he's 3.5, he's got arthritis down here and up here on the elbow. And now you have yourself a major issue, because now you may have a dog that that has an extremity that goes limp, or doesn't want to be active, or can become irritable if he or she is under pain and you're not realizing this. I'm going to tell you guys something. I got called this past week, and sometimes people's ignorance really, really surprises me. Okay. And I don't mean it in a despective way. What I mean is this one gentleman had a dog that had hurt his Achilles, or not his Achilles, his cruciate ligament in the back leg. And the dog was sitting in a corner somewhere, and he had told the whole family to stay away and leave the dog chill. But his youngest son, who's 6, was over there petting the dog. I'm like, dude, get your son away from the dog. The dog interprets pain a lot differently than you and I ever will. Okay, let me explain something to you guys. The adrenal glands are these glands that are on top of our kidneys. Okay, Animals like deer, for example, that need to be on high alert 24/7 because they are prey, they have really big adrenal glands on top of the kidneys. And that's so they can produce adrenaline, right? And they're able to cope with stresses and dangers and threats and so on and so forth. Dogs' adrenal glands are about yay big. You know why? Because they are predators. They're not prey. They're not meant to be under stressful situations. They don't have the capacity to be in a stressful situation for a long period of time. This is why you never corner a dog, because if you ever did, you're going to get a lion, right? And that's where this whole thing comes at. So if you have a dog that's in pain, hurt, make sure you have your children away from the dog. The dog may snap at the child, and it's not because it's aggressive in any way. It's just irritable, and it doesn't have the capacity to cope with it.
It's scared. It's also scared because it's hurting.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the capacity to deal with it. So, that's really, really important to know. John Doe is asking, what would be the best time to get hips OFA tested to be when joints set, and at what age it will set? Anticipating around 2 years. Yes, OFA is 2 years. I believe pen hip. I've had some people tell me pen hip is done at a year. I am not an expert to sit here and say pen hip is better than OFA. They definitely know something I don't. But I can tell you, if you show up to me and you're talking about your dog has OFA and he's not 2 years old, it's going to be meaningless to me. Because as far as I know, OFA requires the dog to be 2 years old. They want to make sure bones are sealed, and what they're looking at is going to be something that is going to be pretty much set in stone. They don't want to just go in there when there's still moving parts, right? So that's what I think. And Saras says, that's what makes me so angry when I see people saying these dogs with elbows bent out and overstacked is fire. It drives me crazy. Well, that's the problem. The problem is, and that's precisely what the community doesn't want to hear, right? This community is hilarious when you speak to it straight and you tell it what it is. Oh, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear, I don't want to hear. But the truth of the matter is the majority of us in the community, whether we like it or not, the great majority are backyard breeders. That's it. And they'll show you a dog, oh, look at that, that's fire. The dog walking around like this, or they'll take a picture of a dog. How stupid do they think people are? I say to myself, and then I look at the post and I see 250 likes, and I'm like, wow, okay, wow, I get impressed again. They'll take a picture of a dog on slanted ground like this, where you can't even see the rear. Oh, look how fire though! You're super fire, dude. I'm like, Jesus Christ, bro. Okay.
I see that in the group chats a lot, like these big bully groups and stuff where people get together, and that seems to be where people try to sell puppies a lot. And I see breedings and people showing off their dogs and stuff, and I'm like, does anything to do with the dog's genetics at all? I mean, does the physical phenotype, any of it matter to you at all?
It doesn't, bro, because what ends up happening is the way that the majority of the people in this community sell the dream, because that's what's being sold. What a backyard breeder does is he sells you a dream, right, to lure you in. And what he or she sells you, he starts talking a language that you don't understand. Oh, he's got XYZ behind him here on the top, and he's got ABC on the bottom, and well, what? Oh, King XYZ. That's what it is, and Queen Gucci. Oh, that sounds appealing to me. That's, they start equating it to merchandise and whatnot. And what ends up happening is they start learning, or they think that marketing is, I either got to ride that guy's coat, or even worse, I got to ride other things, right? Which we know is done in this community a lot. there's nothing worse than seeing a 40-year-old kissing another 40-year-old man's ass. Like, it's shocking to me, right? Out in the open for the whole world to see. This is my ass right here. I'm gonna kiss it here in front of everybody so y'all know it's mine. Right? I'm taking ownership over this, and I'm just like, bro,
laying claim to it.
yeah. I'm like, dang, bro, you're just letting the whole world know who you really are. But hey, you know, who am I? Who am I to judge anybody else, right? That's just my opinion. But my whole point is they get it misconstrued. Bottom line is, if you have a dog that's well structured, you don't have to go kiss anybody's ass, my friend. All you got to do is post that well structured dog. When you have a dog that's clean up front, like my boy Fireball, you show his toes every freaking time. I don't hide my dog's feet. Why is it I don't hide my dog's feet? Nice and tight feet. Because I want you to see them. I want you to know, bro, my dog is polished. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they're polished, right? How many people have dogs? How many people have dogs? And look, this is the worst dog I got in my yard. He's East-West. And you know what's crazy? When I go out and I post that he's East-West, breeders that have dogs that are more East-West than him will DM me. No, bro, he ain't East-West. He's a big boy. No, bro, he's East-West, bro. No, so they try to downplay my dog's fault in order to raise their dog's status. That's backyard breeding, bro. That's backyard breeding marketing.
Me that you can't have a big dog that's not East-West. It comes with the weight. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Right.
By the way, real quick, I don't know if I mentioned it. I told you guys we were going to be breeding girls with my boy Blueberry. Didn't happen. Sorry. Blueberry over here just turned 1 on July 5th. And so I try to collect him. And he got an erection, which is a good thing. And he would lick her in the rear and do the whole jaw shivering thing, which is a good thing. But he didn't mount and didn't want to hump. And so he's just not ready. He's immature. So in his stead, we went ahead and we put this boy right here, who I feel, and I've told you guys, I feel he's the walking standard. Hector from BMBCs, my dude over there, Peter Stoiber. We went ahead and put his dog on her. And so by the time she goes into her second heat, then Blueberry's going to be ready to go and we're going to make it happen. So guys, always know, I don't care who you're breeding to or what you got going on. You got to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, because it doesn't always go according to plan, man. That's just it. Yeah,
not Queen says, but most of the time it's not going to.
Yeah, I would say it only goes 30% of the time. Queen says Blueberry Blues for me to play him, but right now we're gonna put it on hold. I'm telling you, he's gonna come firing by the time December rolls around. But right now, he's still a little baby, man. He would look at me and just blink. I'm like, it's right there in front of you, buddy. Just looking at me blinking.
Hey,
like,
but everything happens as it should, man. I'll tell you what, like you said, Hector is the walking standard. He is an amazing dog, and he's gonna be great with girl.
I think so. Look at that rear angulation, man. How many dogs do you see out there that the owner takes a side shot like that?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, just at that picture, look at the muzzle length, look at the shape of the stop and the skull. Yep. Look at the neck. Look at the shoulder musculature. Yep. The way the chest is protruding forward. The way that where the elbow meets, the rear angulation, the top line, the thick hams in the back. I mean, that dude. Look at that chest. Look at that chest spread on that guy right there, man.
Hey, and I'm the first person that's going to tell you he's East-Westy up front.
He is just slightly East-Wested. Yep.
Yeah, but you know what? It's all good. It's all good. You're never going to get a perfect dog. But this is the closest thing I've seen to perfection, bro. That's hands down. From top to bottom, from front to rear. So
when he says he's seen, he doesn't mean on the internet. He means and talked to me about halfway there and halfway back at least. Drove all the way to Virginia before Peter moved recently, and it was what, an 18-hour drive. Drove down there.
no, it was 20 and I didn't sleep. And when I got there, I kid you not, I wanted to blink and I couldn't close my eyes. My eyes were
He
dry.
called me from the yard, y'all, and said, he's like, Mike, it's everything we hoped it would be, baby. It's
Yeah.
looking great, you know. And I got some videos live right then, y'all. And I'm tell you what, Hector is a big deal. And Peter's got some other dogs there that
Yeah.
are very impressive too.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Brayman says, I saw him post Hector Juice heading to Texas. I was wondering if he had a change of heart on Blue. No, I promise you it wasn't a change of heart. Blue he's still a baby.
He's too young, man. Not ready yet. He's not ready.
He was just looking at me blinking like, what do you want me to do, Dad? And I'm like, all right, bro, I got it.
They can be
you.
ready at a year, but it doesn't mean they will be.
Yeah, this is correct. Now, I'll tell you, Sunshine's brother, Patron, this guy here that left the yard, a couple of days after he got here, that's the picture of what he looked like when he got here. A couple of days after this, he was humping already. Some dogs are just more ready for it than others. And what's crazy is this, guys. After we did the TCI, okay, then the following day, Blueberry decided he wanted to hump. So it's just too little too late at that point, man. But it's the way it goes. It's breeding, man. It's breeding. It's not a perfect science. It just isn't. And Sheichi's cracking up saying, Patron the humper. Yeah, remember? We used to call him the crazy hump. Yeah, he was something else. But let me go back on subject here. Hold on. Inserata's saying Hector and Girl are going to be great. Then Blueberry for second. Yeah. You know, the way it's going to work out in Serata is we're going to do basically it's going to be Hector to Girl, Hector to Ali. Let me show you guys who Ali is over here. I think I already shown her to you guys. This is our girl Ali, right? She's our true XL. She's double N on the IGF-1, but so is Hector. And then Hector will be going into Girl. And then those two, more likely than not, are going to swap with Blueberry the next heat. So Blueberry's NI on the IGF-1. So I'm thinking, why not put him to Girl and also Ali, who's double N on the IGF-1, which means half the litter technically going in, the odds are half the litter is going to be double N, which is, you know, for you guys that don't know on the IGF-1, let me bring it up because I don't want anybody to get lost as far as what I'm talking about.
I've got Hector going into Ali's sister, litter mate, that I have here also as well. We're doing doing a repeat. We had tried here I guess a little over a month ago, and holiday weekend couldn't ship, barely missed the window. We tried anyway, but
always
eggs were
works
too
out that
mature,
way.
man. Yep.
Yeah, it always works out that way. It's unfortunate. But I just want to show you guys what the IGF-1 is. I know a lot of you that have been following me for a bit, you know what I'm talking about. But for those of you that don't, the IGF-1 is the growth hormone. And so if you really want to know how the potential of how big a dog could be, are you able to see my screen, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me go over here and just show a little Blueberry. Where you at, Blueberry? Here he is. So this is a little Blueberry, right? He's got a 24% koi. See, he was born on July 5th, 2024. So he's literally what? A month and 2 weeks old?
Yeah.
Right. So you go to traits, right? And you scroll all the way to the bottom, and then you come up slightly. And here, my bad. Here it is. He is NI on the IGF-1. I is associated with smaller body size. So if I is associated with smaller body size, then the letter N is associated for large body size. We all know that Blueberry is a pocket, right? So what ends up happening is I have the ability. Let me find Ali over here. I have the ability of running him to Ali. If I could only find her. Here she is. Yeah, look, I even got my my girl Ladybug, my rescue embarked. So Ali over here, we go to traits. Like I said, you go all the way down, you come up, and it's right
Blow that
here.
up just a little bit for people that are on a phone, Raul.
Okay, there you go. So she's NN, right? And again, it says here, eye alleles associated with smaller body size. She doesn't have an eye. She is double N. So when I breed her and Blueberry, half of the litter is going to come out with this double N, which should yield me bigger dogs. So he's a pocket. So there's possible that I could have some standards, even possible that I could have some XLs out of a breeding like that. Right. Brayman is asking who owns Patron. I like to follow him. He doesn't even, I don't think he has social media, and Patron was sold as pet quality. Patron has angular limb deformity, the very thing I started talking to you guys about with the East Westie, right? So what ends up happening is sometimes, especially with pockets or the smaller dogs, you'll have some, how do I say this? You'll have limbs of I don't want to say midget, but I just can't think of a better word right now. You'll have some genes that are the dog has been inbred so much that you're dealing with
dwarfism.
Yeah, you're dealing with dwarfism. That's the correct term. You're basically dealing with dwarf genes, and unfortunately, when those genes are crossed with a bigger dog, rather than them correcting themselves, they can cause angular limb deformity. So I'm going to show you, and his owner knows full well what he's got. I spoke everything about him. Angular limb deformity in dogs. So I want to show you guys so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let me do that. Bring it up. Here you go. So this is what angular limb deformity looks like, guys. Okay. This right here, if you have a dog, here you go. If you have a dog showing this like that, okay, that's not even East-Westie anymore, man. That's full-blown angular limb deformity. And that's got to do with the fact that that dog is walking around with some sort of dwarfism. Okay. Unfortunately, it was his or her turn. Sometimes in a litter, you only have one puppy that will have something like that. But, and that is genetic, man. There's just no way around that one. It really, really sucks, man. Sulema says she needs a serious conversation with Blueberry. Yeah, John Doe said dwarfism, and he's absolutely right. Yeah, Inserata dwarfism. You guys know which way I was headed, man. Carmelo and Chica, and how do you go about doing the genetic codes for finding out? You don't do them yourself. What you do is you genetically test your dog. You literally just swab inside of their mouth for about 30 seconds, and you follow the instructions, put it back in the package, send it back. And they're going to run the genetic testing on your dog and tell you what it is that your dog has or doesn't have.
We use Embark. There are other options, but
there are. Yeah.
We use Embark, and you can go to their website and order a genetic kit. They'll send it to you in the mail. Yeah. Like you said, swab the mouth. There's a way, you do it. You don't feed them for so long, and then it's better to kennel them for the night and then do it first thing in the morning. Before they've had any water or anything, and then you send it in, and they give you, several weeks later, give you a readout over that he was just showing us before.
Yep. I remember back in the days, I created the goat ramp and had a bunch of people asking me why it is that I put a ramp on it. So the goat ramp, guys, was nothing more than say, Yeah. Say a piece of wood, right? A piece of wood held up. Plywood being held up by wood underneath it. And what would happen is the dogs would jump into a piece of wood that I had like right about here, like a step. They would jump here and jump here. When it was time to get off, they would jump here and jump down, right? Then I started realizing, right, doing research. This is one of the reasons why you don't want to sit still in one place. That I was improving the possibilities of cruciate ligament tear. And so all I had to do was that same go ramp. I just created a ramp rather than have the dogs jumping down and up and up. That's simple. And it went from being a weakness that could cause a CCL tear to becoming a super strength, because now that I would be able to walk the dogs briskly up and slowly down, and that would help them build their rear muscles, get everything nice and tight in the rear. So keep that in mind, because CCLs, usually the thing that leads to them is sudden twists. So let me give you an example. Something else I do still do with my dogs is the spring pull, right? And the flirt pull. Now, the flirt pull is the one that you use like a fishing rod, and you drop it and you move it around and the dog is running. Now, I have no issues with my dogs when they want to make a turn, running and making the turn. But don't ever flip it to where you snap it back, and instead of making a long turn to come after it, they have to make a sharp turn to come after it, because it is in that sharp turn that they could actually injure their CCL, right? So just food for thought, man, because I've been doing this.
At that time, you also brought your springs down.
Yes,
right,
all the way to the ground.
So that they're not up on their back legs or jumping to get to it.
Correct.
I remember
Especially the puppies. You don't want puppies jarring their pasterns because they're jumping in the air to bite something, and then when they come down, they jar their pasterns. You got to keep in mind that bones do not seal until the dog is 2 years old. So if you have the dog jarring a bone that hasn't sealed, you're able to shift and move things around. That's the reasoning behind that, guys. Carmelo and Chica saying thanks. Let me see. Adam, make sure the dog doesn't eat or drink or interact with other dogs for 2 hours before the embark test. Yeah, make sure. Yeah, good thing, Adam. Make sure your dog doesn't have dog food inside of its mouth. Say you fed him a piece of chicken, and there's a piece of chicken somewhere stuck in the mouth, and you're rubbing this thing, you're getting some chicken DNA rather than dog DNA. So he's absolutely right.
What we did, we actually just kenneled them for the night. And then first thing in the morning, let them out of the kennel and DNA test them right there. We know they've been up all night. They haven't had anything in their mouth. So that's how we did it.
XL Champ saying his dog has been eating less and drinking a ton more. Well, it's hot, man. It's either hot or you have a dehumidifier, which we spoke about on Friday, to stop any flea outbreaks. So I don't know. It's one or the other. Adam Fields is saying ACL. No, there is also ACL, Adam Fields, but I'm referring to the CCL. Well, CCL/ACL. You're right. My bad. Again, you want to make sure that the dog is not doing any type of jarring action, jumping up or down from things. Use ramps. That's one of the ways. That's one of the ways to prevent that. Fredia says, they do that in the summer. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let me see what else is common. Oh, for sure. Luxating patella. Have you ever heard of that, Mike?
No, I almost not sure if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, luxating patella. And this is completely genetic. And all it is.
Patella, that's to do with the knee, right?
Yes, sir. That's got to do with that, the front of the knee. I don't know if there's a common name for it. I've always referred to it as patella, but I'll show you a picture and you guys will see what I'm talking about. And that's pretty much when the patella that little bone that we have, the kneecap. There you go. That's when the kneecap, rather than being over here, it's over here on the side, and it's able to move. Sometimes the tendons there, the soft tissue is not holding it in place, and you're literally able to play with it and move it around. I've never had a dog that had that until I got my rescue girl. I'm sorry, my rescue Ladybug. And Ladybug has this for some crazy reason. So, but she's completely healthy, man. She ain't hurting or nothing. Her patella is just all over the place.
Is it something that is more common in that breed than ours, maybe? Or
well, her breed is mutt. I did an embark on her, and her koi is 1%. Let me put it that way. She has a little bit of everything. Every dog you could imagine on earth, she's got a little bit of it. So, Queen's New Blood says, any dog I have outside of the mom, I don't feed until nighttime since it's so hot to avoid them vomiting and back up. This is a good point. This heat, you got to realize the dog's body has to make a decision. Do I keep myself cool with the blood supply I have, or do I allow the blood supply to go to the digestive system to help digest the food? And so that's if the dog is hot and you're feeding it, it's possibly going to throw up, man. It's just really that simple. So listen, that's pretty much going to be it for tonight, man. I mean, osteoarthritis, things like that. We know they come to fruition based on things like East Westy, things like, malnutrition, overweight. And when I say malnutrition, you may have a dog that has an appropriate weight on them, but when you go to that bag of kibble, the first 2 proteins on there are meal next to it. And I've already spoken that meal is pretty much a poor protein to feed a dog. So, Alberto finally answered. He says it was the puppy's first set of teeth. He broke straight of 3/4 of it. Okay. So, Alberto, more likely than not, the second set of teeth are going to come in. You need to visibly check and see for that first set tooth that broke, that 1/4 you still got in there, for it to come out. Otherwise, you have to go to your vet and get that taken out. Otherwise, you could be dealing with infections, man. And oral infections in dogs are pretty nasty. So, don't know the name of the breeder. I know I paid for a stud to get his health tested, and she found out the stud had a whole missing hip socket. Movement was so great, too. The main reason to always check. It's unbelievable, bro. Unbelievable. But it is what it is, man. Let me bring Kyle from the back. Kyle, you want to start us up, man?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy in the back at the cube. We're catching you on the next one.
There you go, Michael Higginson.
Michael Higginson with Creek Bank Kennel, your co-host with the most, catching you on the next one.
There you go, guys. We do this every Monday, every Friday, 8 p. CST. I know this topic could be a little bit lengthy, but it's probably one of the most important topics for you to learn. Either way, it's been Roll from the Q. I'll be catching you on the next one.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.